Good afternoon, I'm meteorologist Diane Phillips, and of course we are keeping an eye on that storm that we have moving in for later on this week. But thankfully, some time is on our side. We have the calm before the storm, as we can use today and a good chunk of tomorrow to prep ahead and be ready to go for the rain, the snow, and the wind that we have coming. For today, not going to have as much as far as the sunny skies that we had yesterday. Plan on those clouds to be fairly thick for us. We'll have temperatures that'll be in the mid-30s and our winds still on the lighter side. Also a reminder, today is the first day of astronomical winter, meaning also this is going to be the day that we have our shortest amount of daylight. But then we start gaining back some of that light as early as tomorrow, so that will be a welcome sign. However, your sunset this evening is still going to be just shortly after the 5 o'clock hour. Now, looking at Doppler radar, not a lot going on here at home, so that makes it easier to get out and about and maybe go and do some of those holiday preps or those storm preps. Like I said, the time is on our side right now, and the weather, thankfully, is on our side too. But we will see some changes in that forecast. That's why we do have not only one alert day, but still the two for Friday and Saturday. We will have that accumulating snowfall. That's only part of this. I know a lot of folks are thinking, oh my goodness, the snow, but it's really going to be the wind gusts. We'll have those around 50 to even 55 miles per hour, peaking in that 50-mile-per-hour range. And those gusty winds are definitely going to have impacts as far as our local forecast and even travel as well. Then we also have the temperatures that are going to be falling. We have some frigid air that's going to be moving in. Definitely that Arctic feeling is what we'll have outside, and you will definitely be feeling that bone-chilling cold. We have some bitter air that'll be moving in. Now our storm, we actually have that off towards our west. It's not quite organized, but it will become organized with the snow that we have further north. And then we're actually going to be picking up some moisture out of the Gulf. So you can see kind of that green coming in to increase our rain chances on Thursday afternoon. So we will start on the warm side. So we'll have that rainfall as we head into Thursday night and even through midnight. But right after midnight is when we're going to be seeing that Arctic front pushing through. Also, though, when that front pushes in, you can see kind of some of those darker colors. That's when we're going to have that big burst of snow right as we switch over. And you may be saying, okay, going from rain to snow, we might have some icing in between there. Really, this cold air is going to move in so quick and also be very cold to where we will just go from rain to snowfall. And it will be very sudden as we have that switch over. And also, then once we have all that cold air in place, we will just then be talking about snow for the remainder of this forecast. So everything will switch over even before sunrise on Friday. That's when we're going to be working then with the winds picking up. So we'll have some blowing snow. We'll have even a few more snow showers coming down at that point. But then the center of the storm does start to lift off towards Toronto. And yet we are still talking some snowfall and also those reduced visibilities still through lunchtime on Friday. Now Saturday, also still going to be talking about that snow threat because the lakes, those are still going to be pumping out, and that will even allow a little bit of a connection from our lakes to allow for some snowfall to be sitting through the area on Christmas Eve. So keep that in mind. However, I am hoping that the later time frames on Saturday will make travel, though it will be cautious, at least something that's a little bit more easier to handle. Now, snow totals. Don't get too caught up on the snow totals, though we are looking for the majority of us to be around 2, even up towards 5 inches of snowfall. A lot of us will be geared towards a little bit of that lower side, but the further north and west you go in the metro, so a good chunk of Lenawee County, Hillsdale County, all of Williams County, and even kind of that cutoff through Defiance and Fulton counties, you will start to see a little bit more of that heavier snowfall because of that early switchover time frame, but also from that band of snowfall that we will be picking up even as that connects on Saturday. Now, even whether you have a little bit of snow or you are in kind of that heavier snow amount, just be mindful that everybody, Southeast Michigan, Northwest Ohio, low visibilities are going to be a concern of ours, and that's why we are using the B word. Some blizzard conditions there. Also, though, to remind you that a blizzard would be sustained winds of 35 miles per hour and reduced visibilities, and that all, though, in a 3-hour time period. So just because we have seen this word right here does not mean that we'll have crazy snowfall totals that'll just be off the charts. So just keep that in mind, that it's really going to be the winds and the visibilities that we'll be watching from the system. So this is a look at the wind forecast that we have. You can see Thursday. So tomorrow evening, we will start to notice those winds picking up, but they really don't go full throttle until after midnight and into Friday morning. Even by Friday afternoon, we are still monitoring the potential for that 50-55 mile per hour wind gust. And we will even have our winds sustained at times to 35 miles per hour. So it's going to be very gusty, blustery outside. And that's why that snow is just going to be blowing around, making it very difficult to see if you do have to navigate those roadways. Also, another thing to keep in mind is not only the visibilities, but we could see some power outages in the area. So just have an alternative heat source because we will have those cooler conditions, but make sure that heat source is also going to be safe, and just keep in mind that you could be sitting in the dark for a little bit. So that's just something to keep navigating. Of course, our local power companies have been communicating that they do have crews ready to go. Now, the winds are really, though, going to be impactful from the power outage standpoint, the blowing snow, knocking those visibilities down. But like I said, the cold air that we're going to have, it's just going to be bitter cold. A lot of these temperatures that we're forecasting highs to be in the teens, a lot of times those feels like temperatures. What it feels like when you go outside, going to be well below zero. We're talking -10, even towards -20. And we've felt this cold air, but it definitely is biting and very bitter cold. So you don't want to be stranded out there and stuck in those types of temperatures, or also maybe have that power go out when we do have that freeze. So just make sure you are ready to go with this cold air that's going to be moving in. Now let's talk, though, about some travel times. Thursday evening should be in good shape, but it's really after midnight when the game starts to change. That's why we're adding that caution in for us with the yellow. And then we do quickly, though, go to red. That red, though, going to be in play before sunrise. So that means bad travel conditions for all day Friday, at least the daylight hours of that. That'll last even as we head into the evening, as you're going to have those roads becoming, well, if they were wet, very icy, and then you have the blowing snow on top of it. So roadways will be tricky to navigate from a feeling, and then difficult to see from visibilities as we head into Friday evening. Now, overnight, still temperatures are going to be quite frigid, so just keep that in mind if you are traveling. Make sure you have those emergency kits in the car. As we head into Saturday morning, we still anticipate the blowing snow to be problematic for us, but I am hoping, like I said, as we get towards a lot of those Christmas Eve worship services Saturday evening, that we will at least start to see the winds settle down to allow those visibilities to get at least a little improved for us, in hopes that we can get those services in. So, of course, make sure you check WTOL. We'll have that full list on WTOL.com, and those, of course, will also be on air streaming on our channel as well. So make sure you check that out too. Now, we are going to continue, though, to have updates on our WTOL 11 weather app, so you can monitor, of course, those hourly forecasts, but also you'll be able to get snowfall forecast, interactive radar. If you are going to try to navigate those roadways, you can see also when we're going to be changing over from rain to snow. And also weather alerts. We do have that winter storm watch. You probably got that notification on your phone earlier this morning. So we do have that into play, but you can, of course, get updates from us, the National Weather Service, when they issue those watches. And then also you will have those video forecasts from one of your local meteorologists that you know. Now, temperatures. I was talking about how we're going to have that quick freeze. We're going to actually see Thursday temperatures warming up into the lower 40s. But then right after midnight, here go those temperatures. That Arctic front, that's passing on through. Temperatures quickly fall below the freezing mark. That's when we're transitioning over to snowfall. And then even just ahead of daybreak, temperatures just holding into the teens, but then they will be headed down at times into the single digits for those morning lows. So plan on seeing some cold air, and that's even though going to last into the afternoon of Friday. So we've been watching this. Is it too early to tell on a white Christmas? At this point, we're committing to it. With the cold air that we're going to have locked into place and the snowfall that we should pick up, you will have a snowy scene on the 25th. The trends looking very promising for that. So hopefully you maybe have that new sled coming under the tree, and then you can have a little bit of fun out there. Now, like I said, use today and tomorrow to your advantage. We will have, though, that rain and snowfall moving in late on Thursday. Temperatures today in the mid-30s, peaking into those 40s before we have that Arctic air that sets in for those alert days on Friday and Saturday. Of course, we'll have continued updates on the alert days here on WTOL 11 Plus, also on the WTOL 11 app. Thankfully, then the forecast kind of gives us a sigh of relief, a little bit of a time for a breather. Temperatures warming up into the 20s early next week. And even as we get close to New Year's, we could be seeing some rainfall moving into the forecast as temperatures not only go above freezing, but even try to rebound into the lower 40s. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And of course, make sure you keep an eye on that forecast with the WTOL 11 weather app.